Welcome to Rogues on the Road. I'm Matt.
And I'm Rich.
That's right, and we're on a quest.
A tasty quest.
We're out to travel the world, see new places, and find new tastes.
New tastes that we'll create using only the ingredients that we find when we arrive.
Each place we visit, we're going to be cooking meals made only from locally acquired ingredients.
Ingredients we'll gather ourselves, despite the great personal risk.
Wait, what personal risk?
Look at what we did this week. We risked poisoning ourselves with mushrooms. Slimy ones. Are they edibles?
That's not really true.
We drove through rivers to catch fish.
Well, yes, but it wasn't like the Mississippi or anything.
And then we had to face the...
Oh, the market?
Okay, yeah, that was pretty safe, but I stand by the bit about the mushrooms.
You know what? Maybe we'll let you decide just how rough we had it. For this week's adventure, we head out to Banff National Park in Alberta, Canada. Located on the eastern edge of the Rocky Mountains, Banff is both a city and a park. It has absolutely beautiful mountains, forests, and gorgeous views.
Plus, a few tasty bits and pieces we'll be using for dinner.
That's right, starting with the mushrooms. We headed into the mountains to meet with our first guide, Martin the Mushroom Man, also known to us as Mushroom Marty.
Only to find out he was having a few problems of his own.
Marty the Mushroom Guy, we're pulling up here and he's actually broken down on the side.
Oh, he did?
He wasn't able to even move the vehicle at all, but the sound guy,
Right. Okay.
believe it or not, actually has a tow strap that actually
perfect.
hooked it up
And brought him up here.
and towed him right up to here. So
Oh, excellent.
I think this is him right here. So, car problems dealt with, Martin gave us a briefing on hunting for wild mushrooms.
Which, okay, maybe wasn't quite as dangerous as I said.
So everybody talks about mushrooms and worried about the poisonous mushrooms,
Right.
but in reality, there's way more poisonous plants. And plants have some nasty, nasty poisons.
Right.
So when we look across this habitat right here, this little meadow,
Yeah.
these meadows up in this area are full of death camas. And they're those little onion bulbs that literally can kill you. They say 2 or 3 can kill a cow dead. And mushrooms will never do that. You know, you need more volume of mushrooms to be able to actually do somebody in.
See, that's reassuring, right?
Did you miss the bit about the poisonous plants, though?
Personally, you have to always start with small amounts the first time you're eating something, just to see if you personally react to it.
Right.
Some people react to strawberries, some people react to tomatoes.
So if we go out there today and we try a little piece of something, I may be fine,
And I may not.
and
Probably not.
you may end up running naked down the field.
That's very
But
possible.
Is it like an allergy?
A lot of times it's just a food sensitivity.
Okay.
There was still a level of risk, though, wasn't there?
Well, I was willing to bet that if you had a sensitivity to mushrooms, you probably would have noticed by now.
You're always looking out for me, mate.
Mixed white spruce
Yep.
and lodgepole pine. You know, that's Pinus. Actually, they pronounce it, the proper Latin pronounce I's like E's, so it's actually Pinus. It's a Pinus contorta.
So, we've arrived in Banff National Park in Alberta, Canada, and we find ourselves deep in the forest picking mushrooms.
And when it comes to mushrooms, mine's like a human encyclopedia.
Because mushrooms, like humans, can't make their own sugars. So what the mushrooms do is they actually grow onto the roots of the trees, and they, with all their enzymatic action, they go out and they break down phosphorus and nitrogens, and they bring all the phosphorus and nitrogens to the tree.
Okay.
And typically, you get about 100,000 kilometers. So you get about 65,000 miles of fungal roots that go with every tree.
It turns out smell is an important way to tell one mushroom from another.
So this fella, when you smell it, it's not real pleasant. So it's got a kind of I find a bit of a metallic smell to it. This and so this one, I think this is Hydnellum suaveolens, the sweet-smelling one, and we just get a little bit of sweetness off of that. Yeah, kind of. Actually, you know what? That one's. Tell me what that smell is. And once I tell you what that smell is, you'll go, oh yeah. And then that one, come on, admit it. Tell me.
Urine?
No, but close. That's got a fairly strong spermatic odor to it.
We're getting lots of info on fungus, but not a lot about the mill.
If we bring this back to the chefs, they'll be really pissed off.
They can't do nothing with it.
So this is a poisonous one. So that one,
So
we're
that
gonna
goes
leave.
in the basket.
That goes, well, depends.
But with some perseverance, we managed to find something edible.
You'd like to think that knowing which mushrooms are safe and which ones are poisonous would be a simple matter of shape or color.
In Alberta, we're really fortunate that we have no poisonous boletes except for one.
Oh. But no, it's not that easy. That's good to know.
Yeah.
Which one?
Oh yeah. Well, we're not saying.
See, these are the things that I, it's like,
Does it scare you?
you can have every single one. There's one, and you know what? We're
Okay, never mind.
you're
Not risky, you said.
not very risky. Now the important question. This mushroom was edible, but how tasty was it?
So these guys here are an edible mushroom, but they're certainly not an incredible mushroom.
Okay.
So fried, if you like slugs and things like that, you'll love these things fried.
We thought it best to keep looking.
We've got a few wormholes, but you know what I would do is I'd flick these guys out of here, and I would eat this.
You would?
Absolutely, and I'll tell you why. Canada, Health Canada comes down hard on the food industry, but what they will allow is they'll allow in the range of 16 to 18% of the protein in a can of mushrooms to come from an insect source.
Okay.
So when you're buying canned mushrooms, you've got larvae and you've got,
they're in there.
You know they're in there.
So basically, you've eaten bugs already.
And that's supposed to reassure me, is it?
Well, nothing bad happened so far. I mean, it's perfectly healthy, right? I mean, it could be worse.
I mean, to me, it's not as disturbing as canned tuna, which they allow up to 20%
Wow.
protein. And when you think of a canned tuna, it's packing a punch
Yeah,
of protein.
Yeah.
And up to a fifth of it can come from an insect source.
Wow.
So,
Acceptable limits.
yeah, acceptable limits.
I'll eat a few worms.
Yeah. 20% insect. God knows how much dolphin.
Not something that we're gonna have to worry about on this week's meal.
Finally,
Yeah,
I lucked
yeah.
into something
Super
great.
hairy.
Martin,
super.
Hey,
what we
look,
got over here, mate? Look at these.
holy
Ooh.
smokes.
What are they?
Hey, you got the find of the day so
Nice,
far.
Rich.
Cheers, mate.
Beautiful.
Nice,
So
nice.
these ones are just about impossible to confuse with anything because they've got teeth. So these are hedgehogs. So I was talking earlier about the hedgehogs
right.
being genetically the same as chanterelles. So these are our Alberta chanterelles. This is what we've got.
Now these are sounding tasty.
This is sweet and nice. Not only is it a favorite, you gotta be an idiot to misdiagnose this. Because
I wouldn't underestimate me.
there's nothing with teeth that'll poison you. There's some things that'll pucker your lips, like we found that bitter hedgehog
Yeah.
and the one that smelled really bad.
Yeah.
So those ones we wouldn't confuse as soon as we cooked them. But these, awesome mushrooms.
Oh, cool, nice, fine.
Oh, look at that. Oh, look at this ring. Look at this
Oh, that
ring.
ring.
Oh, that ring.
Yeah, see the little ring here?
Yeah.
Notched gills, remember? White notched gills, tricholoma.
Yep.
What's in the tricholoma family? Oh, yeah. Hey, the hedgehogs are okay, but this is the find of the day.
All right, I'll give it to him.
So it turns out what we found was a pine mushroom.
So this is what the Japanese pay hundreds of dollars a pound for.
Oh, wow.
This mushroom. This is the one that people arm themselves in the woods and guard their patches.
A fungus worth its weight in gold, and we found it on the forest floor. Now I consider that a successful mushroom hunt.
And that it was. And we had found our second side dish. And by this point, a pint was sounding like just the thing.
Good thing beer was on our next stop. The first leg of this quest started with the truck broken down by the side of the road. Our next stop was gonna be a little more relaxing.
Shooting in the brew pub was great. The minute you sit down, you got a pint in your hand.
A locally produced beer you can't get anywhere else.
And also that's been made by people passionate about making great beer.
We're at the Banff Avenue Brewing Company. We are here with Socrates, the owner, and he is going to help us pair a beer with the ingredients that we're going to be gathering over the next couple days. The Banff Avenue Brewing Company turns out to be a perfect match for our goal of making a meal out of locally acquired ingredients.
It's the only place in town that we actually use local water to make local beer. We don't really filter any of our beer. We don't filter any of the water. We don't treat it. We try and create recipes based on the water that we have and the ingredients that we have access to. We typically use 4 main ingredients, the same as the German purity law states: the water, yeast, hops, and malted barley.
It's funny that you say yeast because yeast is actually a fungus.
Matt's got fungus on the brain, but it's really the water that turns out to be the key.
We also have a brewery up the road in Jasper, and we can't make the same beers that we make there because of that one principle. Like,
Water's different?
The water's everything.
Socrates gave us a brief summary of the history with beer and how he made his way from consumer to producer.
When I was in university, I was fortunate enough to go to school in a place where craft brewing culture was paramount.
I thought you were going to say craft brewing was actually part of the curriculum.
No.
Brewing school.
Brewing school. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I wish, but what happened was I was spending more time at the brew pubs than I was at class, and now I'm doing this, and
Very good.
yeah. So.
And it worked out well.
That's right. Loads of people in university spend quite a lot of their time in pubs, and not too many of them make a career out of it.
It was time to get down to business. We needed just the right beer to complement the ingredients we were collecting.
I think something that would really pair well with a nice fresh trout, some fresh mushrooms. We have this really interesting product that we make here. We wanted to show people that you could make a dark beer that drank clean and crisp.
Nice.
And what we ended up with was something that we didn't really anticipate. We were trying to make a German-style Schwarzbier, which is a dark lager.
Okay.
And just to make it, to make people feel more familiar with that, we called it a black pilsner. And people are like, oh, I've had a pilsner.
Yeah, right.
Maybe I'll try the black pilsner.
Right.
And what happened was they really bought into it. Everyone really started to drink this beer because of certain characteristics that it brings to the table.
Okay.
Sounding good?
It's certainly sounding different. Do you like a Guinness?
No, it's a lager, so it'll drink clean and crisp.
Okay.
But, and it has a really a thin mouth profile. Like, it's not gonna overwhelm your palate, but it does have some complex roastedness to it. It definitely has some residual water bitterness because of the mineralization of our water.
Okay.
And that really accentuates the hops a lot. So even though the IBUs, which are international bittering units, will be by formula low on this beer, you're gonna have a nice hop flavor to it. It's a challenging beer for someone that hasn't had anything like it before. And it comes across, it's a real unique product that can only be made with this water, and it can only be found here.
Sounds great. Will it work with our planned meal?
You know, if you have the richness of the brook trout and that wonderful pink meat that comes along with that, and you have the amazing variety of weird mushrooms that you guys seem to afford for. You know what? I've grown up in this park, and I've never seen one of these. This is ridiculous.
I guess there's only really one way to find out.
Do you guys want to try it?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Sounds good. I'm gonna put this one aside. I promise I'll come back to it.
And this is called the what?
Thank you.
This is our lower banquet black pilsner.
Searching for mushrooms was fun, but this ingredient hunting, I can definitely understand.
There's some things that you're gonna find in this beer that are unique.
Okay.
We use it gets its color from a roasted malt, and you're gonna see that we've used some really great American hops on this, but they're gonna stay on your palate a little bit longer, and that's gonna really play off the butter that you guys are gonna be cooking with.
Excellent.
Oh, excellent. Time to sample the beer. And again, aroma is important.
Hopefully nothing smells like sperm this time. Cheers.
All right, cheers. Thank you.
Smell it? Taste it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's roasting goodness.
Yeah, and you know, it's something, like I said, completely unique to this area.
Yeah, totally.
Completely unique to this brewery.
And it's light. It looks heavy and dark, but it's really light. Dark beer that's not a heavy beer, that's pretty impressive. Beer tasted, secrets learned. It's now sadly time to move on.
Break's over. The next day, it was time to catch some fish.
Just a few rivers to cross to get to them.
On a bright Alberta morning,
Early on an Alberta morning, very early.
we headed to Kananaskis country to fish for brook trout.
One would think there'd still be fish at a more civilized hour.
Maybe, but we're headed to a special site. You see, we've been invited by Trout Unlimited Canada to help out with a very unique suppression program for invasive fish species, one that seems to be having very positive effects. Some time ago, the brook trout were accidentally introduced when a hatchery truck overturned releasing the brook trout into local streams. They competed with the native species for food and living space, pushing the indigenous fish towards extinction.
So, we're going to give the native cutthroat and the native bull trout a better chance with some selective fishing.
The plan was to thin the invasive trout numbers and at the same time, hopefully catch enough to form the basis of our main course.
The brook trout may be bad for the local ecosystems, but they are really tasty. One last brush up on our fish ID, and it's actually more work than you'd think.
The plan only works if we stick to catching the right kind of fish. So to make sure we stuck to the brook trout, we had to write a fish ID test just to be able to come here today. And there was a catch.
We had to get perfect, or we couldn't come at all.
The key word there is black. It's not where there's specks. It's black spots are present on cutthroat, but you don't have black spots on the sides on brook trout or bull trout.
No pressure. Bloody hell! Are we crossing that?
Our site's on the far side of these rivers, and there's no bridges to where we're going. The brook trout we need to get is so remote, we have to use these non-sensitive park crossings just to get where we need to go. It's a rougher road than either of us expected, but our trucks were definitely up to the challenge.
That wasn't so hard.
With the wet and wild part done, it's just a few miles of off-road trails and a quarter-mile hike to our fishing site, Port Creek. Before the hike, we had a quick chat with Leslie from Trout Unlimited Canada about what they're hoping to accomplish today.
When we get down, we're going to set up block nets.
Okay.
So that's to cordon off the reach that we're electrofishing so that no fish can come in or out of the section.
Yep.
And then we'll do 3 passes electrofishing.
Okay.
And each subsequent pass, we should catch about 50% fewer fish. And that gives us a good depletion so that we can run the statistics and do a population estimate for that.
And it just stuns them? It doesn't kill them?
Yeah, that's right. It just stuns them.
Okay.
And then we release them all back alive.
It's like a military camp down there. These guys bought some gear.
Yeah, it's like we're at war with these invasive fish. Now, it may look like a team of experts at work,
And one Ghostbuster.
right, but these are actually nearly all volunteers. Some of them have been volunteering with this project for a while. Others were first-timers like Rich and myself, also needing a little orientation.
This creek is a creek that used to have just native cutthroat and bull trout, but starting in the 1970s, brookies started to show up in the lowermost portion of the creek.
Oh, wow.
And by the mid-1990s, they were throughout the creek. In fact, they comprised about 95% of the fish population in the uppermost portion of the creek. And the cutthroat and the bull trout were rapidly being extinguished from the creek. So we were going to lose them unless we did something, and we don't have the resources to try to remove them from the creek by electrofishing.
Right.
And we thought we've got lots of anglers out there that, given a half a chance, seem to be pretty handy at greatly depleting or wiping out fish populations. So if we can utilize those anglers in a positive way,
Right.
and permit them to harvest an unlimited number of brook trout from the creek, perhaps we can reduce the brook trout population enough to facilitate a recovery of the native cutthroat and bull trout.
Finally, overfishing gets a chance to do some good.
Yeah, it usually goes the other way.
It turns out the brook trout are packing a few evolutionary guns, meaning not only are they outbreeding the local trout, they're having an easier time sneaking past anyone fishing for them.
Well, anyone who hadn't studied as hard as we did. Okay, are we seeing populations of the cutthroat, populations of bull beginning to come back, stabilize?
The cutthroat population is showing signs of recovery. When we first started, as I indicated, cutthroat and bull trout together comprise no more than 5% of the fish population. But I think it was around about 4 years ago that cutthroat trout actually outnumbered brook trout. They comprised over 50% of the fish population. So we're moving in the right direction.
Good.
Busting makes me feel good.
All right, time to fish.
At least we need less gear than the electro fishing guys. And as you can see, it was every bit exciting.
Fishing is supposed to be calm, Rich.
That it was.
So what you do is you try and look to see what's hatching. So before you even go out fishing, you might actually turn over some rocks, turn over some rocks, take a look at what's hatching, what insects are there. And what we saw in the aquarium, that little tank, the stonefly, I was trying to get something that kind of matched the stonefly. And obviously it's working really well.
I have absolutely no fly fishing experience. I came out here for a little lesson from Matt, hopefully. It's a total waste of time, obviously. Yeah, well, you need to get this thing moving because we're on a bit of a time limit to catch these fish, and there's going to be some hungry people tomorrow night.
Oh shit.
Get busy fishing.
Even this far from the electricity, we still didn't quite manage to escape without injury. What'd you do to your head? You like sliced your head.
Did I?
Yeah, man.
It's just friggin' bugs.
It's freaking fishing.
Where's the hook? It's a lot of work, this.
You're supposed to have fun.
It's a workout.
You look a little tense.
I'm a little...
You're like, it's supposed to be like relaxing.
It's not relaxing at all, it's stressful.
Hopefully we caught enough brook trout to give the locals their fighting chance.
And feed everyone. Let's not forget that.
We've got the fish, we've got mushrooms, we've got beer, but we don't quite have a full meal yet.
But for this step, there's no rivers to ford, there's no fields to search, and this time we need to brave the markets.
So we are at the Banff Farmers Market, and we have our main ingredients, and we'll fill you in on that in just a second. But you are?
My name's Christelle.
Christelle. Matt.
Nice to meet you, Matt.
Rich.
Nice to meet you, Rich.
I'm Jolene.
Jolene, nice to meet you.
I'm the manager here of the Banff Farmers Market.
Oh, excellent. And you are?
I run a program called Farm Box, which sources local organic food.
Christelle is going to be our guide to finding fresh organic fruit and vegetables to go with our trout, mushrooms, and beer.
How'd you get the whole farmers market started?
I've loved farmers markets for years, and so we canvassed the community, got them excited about the idea, and it snowballed really quickly.
That's great. When did it start? When did it actually start?
Last year. This is only year 2 for us.
This is year 2.
Yes, so it's grown so quickly. We're now pretty much at max capacity.
And how many vendors do you have in total?
We have about 60 vendor stalls, but then some vendors like Farm Box need extra space to display other vegetables.
Everything in this market is made locally, and that's actually their rule.
The mandate of our market is make, bake, or grow. So all the vendors here...
Make, bake, or grow.
Yep, so all the vendors have to make their own products, grow it, bake it, and therefore we keep it local and the quality is really high.
That's perfect.
The whole approach just makes for a great way to buy your groceries.
Absolutely.
We're not big shoppers per se. We don't really like shopping. Rich shops a little bit more than I do.
They're hair products usually.
Usually hair products. But I gotta say, when we do shop, we love farmers markets because there's such a diverse amount of stuff that you can find and see and taste and smell
and you
buy.
meet the people who are making it, which is even more incredible.
Excellent. We are challenging the chef tonight to cook a meal for us.
Yep.
We have 2 main ingredients. We have wild mushrooms and we have brook trout. And we're looking for a few side vegetables and extras to match those, and maybe you can help us out.
Awesome, I can totally help out with that today.
That's great.
Awesome.
All right. And so off we went into the market in search of a side dish.
So we've got these purple beans from Nolan Fisher at Fisher Farms in Pittsburgh, and they're a little bit tricky.
Tricky.
So purple on the outside.
Look at that, that's
Gorgeous and sweet. You feel free to taste them, they're good raw, but on the inside they're green.
Oh wow.
So if you cook them, the color will fade and they'll turn green. So they transform.
But they're pretty good raw. Purple beans it is. What else we got?
Got some heirloom tomatoes, cherry tomatoes, so little guys like grapes.
And they're sweet.
Very sweet.
It's hard to go wrong with tomatoes. Next.
Leeks.
I love leeks. Leeks are my #1 vegetable. And I don't do much to them. I just slice them up and boil them. So good.
Beauty, the food speaks for itself.
Absolutely. Delicious.
Herbs always make a meal, and we've got fresh basil as well. So this is also Honest Food Farm in Costin. Oh yeah.
Sweet. Courgettes.
Yeah, we've got all different kinds of zucchinis, our summer squashes, gold and yellow. Romanescos are these little ones.
Oh, so we'll get some of these red beans.
So how many do you think we need? Just a couple handfuls?
Yeah, we'll do, yeah.
Okay, we'll do a few handfuls. And normally I'm like looking through beans because like one is like rotten, the other is like kind
These
of
are pretty
small.
fresh,
These are
aren't
all just perfect. Here, wait, need some more.
It got tricky to decide what we wanted and what we didn't. Purple pepper.
Purple pepper. I'll grab purple pepper. Yeah, that was our heirloom. I want to try that trifle that Cristal was telling us. A good farmer's market is like a great salad bar. You want a little of everything, then pretty soon you're in way over your head. See, I think we should do that instead of
this. All right.
What do you think?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
They say never shop hungry. A market like this can make anyone hungry.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Hey, as long as we got enough tomatoes to make it to our chef, we're happy.
Awesome.
Oh, it's so good. Groceries bought, it was time to wrap things up at the market. Cristal, thank you so much.
Yeah, that was excellent.
This is great.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
And now we just need to bring everything together and start cooking. Right here?
We're out.
Let's
All
go.
right. So, we picked up some tasty mushrooms with the help of Martin the Mushroom Man.
We caught a healthy serving of brook trout thanks to Trout Unlimited Canada.
We got some deliciously fresh fruit and vegetables from the farmer's market with a little guidance from Cristal.
And we topped it all off with a locally brewed beer from Socrates at the Banff Avenue Brewing Company.
Only one thing left to do. Give it all to Lonnie, our chef, and get cooking. Is that 4?
That's for it.
I gotta start all over again. Every part of this dish was going to be cooked over a campfire or camp stove next to this beautiful river.
Gourmet food in the great outdoors, love it.
So when these guys have sat for about say 10 minutes on ice, then we're gonna put them in with an X of willow stick through here.
Okay.
Oh, beautiful.
And then we're gonna put them on the coals, or above the coals, and kind of cook them that way.
How long will they take to cook?
It really depends on the fire, but probably going to do 15 minutes or so,
right.
In total, somewhere around there.
This being a new experience, clearly I had some questions for Lonnie. When I marinate fish, I'm usually marinating it for like an hour, 2 hours. Why are we just marinating it for like 2
And with the fresh fish, we really want to do, just keep the flavor of the fish going.
Okay.
Right.
I don't want to saturate it with beer. The beer is going to be a subtle seasoning. It's not going to be a flavoring.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Makes
absolutely.
total sense.
Makes sense to me. We worked hard getting all these fish. We might as well taste them.
Plus, Lonnie had one more surprise local ingredient for us.
And what I want to get into is the sea asparagus.
I've never heard of sea asparagus.
I've heard of it, I've never seen it.
Oh, wow.
I mean, this is phenomenal. This comes right off my my beach in Gabriel Island, BC. And I mean, it's just awesome. And what we're going to do is we're going to cook it just like you would regular asparagus.
Okay.
Rapidly boiling salted water.
Okay.
Cook it quickly. We're going to take it out. We're going to cool it in an ice bath.
Oh, wow.
Lock in that green flavor, that green color,
Yep.
and also the flavor. And then when we're ready at the last minute, we're just going to pan fry it with some butter, some salt and pepper.
Super.
And the awesome thing is, this is going to cook down. You're going to get the whole thing in your mouth. You're going to pull it out between your teeth and your tongue, and you're going to end up with a skeleton of the sea asparagus and a mouthful of
Delight.
And I like to call it, asparagus times 3. It's just, the flavor is so amazing.
Does it taste anything like asparagus?
It does.
It does.
Just, kind of like buffalo is beefier beef.
Right.
Sea asparagus is, just asparagus times 3.
Wow, that's
Seems worth a try.
good. Cheers. He's a professional.
A bit like eating and flossing at the same time.
Yeah, but I doubt your dentist is going to sign off on that for you.
Oh, that was so good.
Very good.
While Lonnie saw to the trout and sea asparagus, we got to work prepping our side dishes. Yeah, much richer in color than store-bought. Wow, look at that. Look at that. That's great.
There's always a lot of chopping involved with vegetable dishes.
But it's worth it in the end.
Oh, that's so good. Semi-sweet.
Yeah. It was interesting. Martin, when we were doing the mushroom hunt or the forage, he told us, you know, because safety was a concern.
Yeah.
He told us no mushroom, not including portobellos, are really safe to eat raw.
And
I had no idea.
I had no idea.
no nutritional value raw.
Really?
You have to break down that chitin
When you
cell
put
wall.
mushrooms in a salad, there's no nutritional value.
Important tip, folks. Always cook your mushrooms.
Now, there's no point in making a meal this good and not sharing it.
So, we invited some special guests to our campfire cookout.
So we are here with Nick and Christina
The trick with this is we want to
from
have a really hot,
chomp.ca. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So-
What does chomp.ca do?
It's Canada's dining guide, and so it's dining
you
details
go
and
ahead, yeah.
restaurant deals.
Oh, cool. So people can go online and get discounted vouchers for different restaurants and pubs and stuff?
They can do that. They can also get a lot of information and videos and that sort of.
Pepper
Oh, that's great.
up here.
Now that the fish was marinated and chilled, we just had to get it over the fire.
Over the fire, not in the fire. We definitely didn't have time to go and get more brook trout.
The skewer technique we were taught provided some benefits when it came to basting and seasoning. Lonnie, the way the sticks, the way you showed us how to do the sticks, it actually formed a little cup. That was completely planned by you, right?
Yep.
That's
all part of the plan.
that's
all the
superior
grand
chef
scheme.
skills.
That cupping that, we do not want to waste one drop of that beer marinade.
Oh, no.
Cup
That'd
the
be
trout.
alcohol abuse.
Cup the trout.
That would be alcohol abuse.
And so we kept things nice and simple, focusing on the ingredients that we had gathered.
Which is real nice.
That's beautiful.
And again, you're doing it super simple. There's no magic ingredient in this. I know you probably wish there was.
No. Don't mess with nature. Don't interfere with these flavors. I mean, they're just so nice. It'd be a shame to ruin them.
And so it was finally time to eat.
At long last.
It's delicate.
Cheers.
There you go.
Cheers.
Cheers. Ching. Ching. Oh.
Oh, wow. Not too shabby. There you go. How is it? Mm-hmm. It's good?
Yeah, you get a little bit of the herb. You definitely get the smoke. That was really good.
As good as it looked and as good as it tasted, Matt was determined to find that extra last piece of fish.
How do you, Jim was telling us how to find the cheek.
On a cod.
So no, but Jim told us that we're even on these small fish, you can still get a little piece of cheek and it's delightful. But I
Fish
don't.
cheeks are a delicacy, but I don't know if you can find it.
I don't know.
Microscopic.
It's right there. There you go. There it is.
Oh, well done.
Just peel it right back. There it is. I found it, but there was still plenty of fish left to eat. Just peeled right off.
Lani made us a brilliant dinner just by letting the ingredients we found speak for themselves.
Absolutely delicious.
You got that right, mate.
First, we had the mushrooms. Very rustic, rich and buttery. A taste that matched the fresh, crisp outdoor smell of Canmore.
The texture was a little bit rubbery, which I don't usually look for, but it really works well, especially on the lobster mushrooms.
And the butter really brought out the essence of the forest.
The trout were a little small, being cold water trout, but there was actually a lot of meat on them.
That's right, light, flaky, just needed a little butter and a few herbs to really enhance their flavor. It was delicious and good for the local fish as well. The farmer's market had an incredible variety of locally grown fruits and vegetables.
It was a renaissance of heirloom produce, and everything had some sort of story attached to it from the farmers that grew it.
A true farm-to-plate experience. And what we got just kicked our main ingredients into overdrive.
And it didn't even look that hard. Lani cooked them in a way that anyone could do, and made a world-class meal out of it all.
You can say that again. All you need for an inspired dinner is a little motivation and some creativity with your local ingredients.
And a sense of adventure doesn't hurt.
Never does. Thanks to everyone we met for sharing your passions with us. And thanks to all of you for joining us on this great ride.
We're alright, and we're all in this together. We can make it to the finish. When we do, we will begin again. And all this life's like a ship out in the harbor. We can take it where we want, and when we do, we will be satisfied. So speak your mind, let your freak flag fly. Don't take more than you need. Keep your heart open wide, yeah. We're alright, and we're all in this together. We can make it to the finish. When we do, we will begin again. And all this life's like a ship out in the harbor. We can take it where we want, and when we do, we will be satisfied. And we're alright, and we're all in this together. We can make it to the finish. When we do, we will be